Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth, Aguele. A two-brainstorming session aimed at finding a middle ground in the executive-legislative partnership for effective service delivery in the country is underway in Abuja. The President Muhammadu Buhari, who declared open the joint leadership retreat between the two arms of government, reaffirmed the collective will and sincere aspirations to build a nation where justice, peace and progress are the norm. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo will bring us the details.
The joint leadership retreat provides an opportunity for members of the executive and the legislature to review and strengthen areas of achievements as well as address identified weaknesses in their collaborative partnership for nation building. President Muhammadu Buhari said since there can only be one government in a nation at a time, its officials, both elected and appointed, have no alternative than to work together for the desired peace, unity and development. This, he said, has been largely achieved since the inauguration of the 9th National Assembly.
The accelerated passage of the 2020 budget, the timely confirmation of my nominees, and passage of critical legislations are all testaments to your willingness and commitment to play in your part towards delivering effective services to Nigerians. There is a compelling need to sustain and strengthen on this partnership by creating platforms to share ideas and build consensus on critical governance and policy issues. This approach will enhance coordination within government and strengthen our capacity to effectively address the challenges of governance, service delivery, and development.
He said by virtue of the support and effective partnership with the legislature, critical reforms have been initiated by government towards strengthening the economy, increasing efficiency in governance, and putting the country on a steady path to sustainable future. And to significantly improve the livelihoods of Nigerians within the next 3 years, the President explained that a 9-point priority development agenda has been unveiled to, amongst others, improve security for all, achieve a thriving and sustainable economy, and build a system that will fight corruption on a permanent basis.
We cannot do this alone without your support and collaboration. While all members of the Federal Executive Council have been given clear mandates and yearly targets towards achieving the set indicators and goals, I recognize the critical role of the National Assembly in helping to deliver this agenda and the strategic goals set by this government.
Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker Femi Bajabiamila restated the commitment of both chambers of the National Assembly to sustain the highly desirous and genuine partnership with the executive towards enhancing good governance and effective service delivery to Nigerians.
This relationship is misunderstood by many. Some, out of mischief, will describe the National Assembly as rubber stamp. Some out of misunderstanding. What is upmost in our minds as members of the National Assembly in the 9th Assembly is how do we work with the executive to make Nigeria better? If the price to pay is the names that we get, then let it be the price to pay.
I believe this two-day engagement will do nothing but enhance this relationship, strengthen it, and the people that will be the better for it, not us, but the Nigerian people that we represent.
The Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Umar Aliya, applauded both President Muhammadu Buhari and the leadership of the National Assembly for always taking proactive steps towards deepening cooperation and partnership between the executive and the legislature for national prosperity. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Well, it's been 15 months of working relationship between the executive and the 9th National Assembly, a relationship that the actors themselves strongly believe has yielded meaningful national development. The leadership of the two arms of government met and reviewed the strength and weakness of this relationship for possible improvement. Let's get the details from Ignatius Nkwo.
The 9th National Assembly is credited to have introduced some innovations, positive ones at that. Improved relationship with the executive is one of such changes. But like a newly constructed road, this relationship too needs maintenance, and it is the commitment to lubricate this alliance that necessitated the joint executive-legislative leadership retreat at the presidential villa. Interestingly, the legislators and the executive agreed that the existing relationship between the two arms of government has been productive.
Mr. President and the leadership of the 9th Assembly have taken proactive steps to foster and deepen cooperation between both arms of government.
You can see how the outcomes of bills from executive have been passed without any delay.
All of us must realize that this cooperation should be mutual. There should be no senior or junior partner.
You have seen the legislators cooperated with the executive to the letter because it has given it maximum support.
With the economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, both parties concord on the urgent need for an improved relationship.
It is like the National Assembly is making more sacrifice. So this kind of meeting will make everybody to contribute.
There is room for improvement. With this kind of synergy, with this kind of retreats, probably we'll get to talk.
And the purpose is not to rest on your oars and think that you have a perfect balance, but to find ways of continuously improving relationship and communication.
This meeting aptly captures the essence of popular consultation in democracy. From the presidential villa, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Well, in other issues, the presidency has responded to recurring threats to the corporate existence of the country, with factions giving specific timelines for the president to do one thing or another, or else, in their language, the nation will break. In a statement, the presidency warns that such unpatriotic outbursts are both unhelpful and unwarranted, as this government will not succumb to threats and take any decision out of pressure at a time when the nation's full attention is needed to deal with the security challenges facing it at a time of the COVID-19 health crisis. It further says the president, as an elected leader under the Constitution, has the interests of 200 million Nigerians at heart, who are his first responsibility under the Constitution, and will continue to work with patriotic Nigerians through and in line with the parliamentary processes to find solutions to structural and other impediments to the growth and well-being of the nation and its people. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has expressed concern over young Nigerians being indiscriminately brutalized by men of Nigeria Police Force, especially the Special Anti-Robbery Squad and those in other tactical units. The Vice President, during a chat with the press at the presidential villa in Abuja, described these actions as totally objectionable and unacceptable, assuring Nigerians that a reform in the police force to curb these excesses is in the offing. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
The Vice President's reaction follows the concern raised by other Nigerians over the arrest of young men and women suspected to be fraudsters by some police officers. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo condemns in way and manner this is being done, stressing that the president is equally averse to this.
The arrest, maiming, killing of young people, of anyone at all, by these same individuals is completely wrong. It is unlawful, it is illegal, and anybody, all of those who are involved in this ought to be investigated and prosecuted. Now, I'm sure that today, this afternoon, I had a meeting with the IG of police. We reviewed several of these issues. The president and I have had discussions on this. He's very, very concerned about it. Wants to see a reform. A few bad eggs within the police force causing a lot of these, and because it's all over the place in different states, there's a need, of course, to take serious action. I think that the IG statement today is a good first step.
Commenting on the recent increase in the price of premium motor spirit, otherwise known as petrol, and electricity tariff, the Vice President says government is in no way plan to put burden on the people, but the action is inevitable as no one expected the downturn of the economy, especially as the country had 12 consecutive months of economic growth before COVID-19 sets in, causing global economic crisis.
But the important thing is that the President and the government are committed completely to ensuring that Nigerians do not suffer needlessly, and that in whatever way it is possible will reduce the burden on Nigerians. I'm sure you're aware of the efforts we're making about putting solar home systems. This is part of the economic sustainability plan in 5 million Nigerian homes, along with the private sector. The funding for that has been provided by the central bank through loans that are coming through the commercial banks. We're also looking at various ways of improving supply, the power supply, and improving access to power and making it even cheaper.
Vice President Osinbajo commends the civil society organizations for often bringing the attention of the federal government to the concerns of the people and urges them to continue working with government for a better nation. In the State House, Jide Onifate, NTA News.
And the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ovie Omagege, has condemned the activities of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. A statement by the Special Advisor to the Deputy President of the Senate on Media and Publicity, Yomi Odonuga. Senator Omagege expressed concern over the incessant cases of extrajudicial killings, harassment, illegal arrests, and extortion of defenseless citizens by the officers. He cited the alleged shooting of a man by operatives of SARS in his constituency in Aguele, Delta State, over the victim's alleged refusal to allow the operatives to search his phone, as well as another shooting of a youth in the town by men of the Operation Delta Safe over the same reason. He advised youth in the area to remain law-abiding as he called on the police to fish out the culprits for prosecution to serve as deterrent. In a related development, Minister of Youth and Sports Development Sunday Dare has met with the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, over recent alleged brutality involving youths by the operatives of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Francis Pham will tell us more.
We know that going forward, things can only get better.
This visit is unusual, but it has a major objective of ending the unnecessary harassment and human rights violation on Nigerians, particularly the youth, by some members of the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad. The meeting agrees that a table for discussion be provided. The initiative is suggested to be youth and police town hall meetings across the country under the supervision of the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development.
We recognize that the police have a statutory responsibility to keep the peace. We recognize the work the police force has done in the past years, is doing currently. And I think that this development gives us another opportunity to improve the relationship between the youth and the police. I believe under your watch will work at the highest level of professionalism.
The police chief assured to carry out deep reforms, sanctioning of erring officers, as well as more commitments in the protection of the youth.
Any individual within us that goes contrary to his training in terms of being civil to members of the public, we will not let them go free, because their action may smear the good work that the institution Nigeria Police Force is doing.
On Sunday, the IGP placed a ban on various activities of FSARS, including stop and search and mounting of roadblocks on highways across the country because of alleged misconduct. In Abuja, Francis Pham, NTA News.
Right, let's now join Abubakar in Maiduguri for more reports. Abubakar.
Good afternoon, Ruth, and thanks for joining us. General Court Martial 7th Division, Nigerian Army has sentenced Corporal Aliya Kubu to 5 years imprisonment and dismissal from service for defilement of a 13-year-old internally displaced person from Bama local government area of Borno State. Yagum Subukar has the rest of the report.
Presiding over the judgment, President of the court, Brigadier General Ariko Ekubi, noted that Corporal Aliya Kubu, who served under 202 Tank Battalion Bama, was found guilty of 2-count charges of defilement and assault contrary to Section 78 and 104, subsection 2A of the Armed Forces Act 2004.
It is the law that the responsibility to group the 2-count charges of defilement and assault preferred against the accused lies squarely on the shoulders of the prosecution, as provided under Section 36 of 5 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
He pointed out that the accused has betrayed the trust and confidence reposed in him by the Nigerian Army and failed to protect the right of the vulnerable in the society. Brigadier General Ariko Ekubi disclosed that the court sentenced the convict, having listened to 5 witnesses on 2-count charges of defilement and assault, assuring that the military is committed to ensure all officers respect the rule of law as well as their rules of engagement. In Maiduguri, Yagum Subukar, NTA News.
Borno State Police Command has paraded suspects involved in various crimes alongside exhibits recovered from them. This formed part of the achievements recorded last month by the command in a bid to curtail criminal activities in the state. Pauline Kujivana has more on that.
The suspects with exhibits were arrested in different locations within Maiduguri metropolis for involvement in hard drugs, dangerous tricycle riding, and possession of dangerous weapons, as well as criminal conspiracy and thefts. Another thing of concern is the conspiracy and theft among some Keke Napep riders, with someone pretending to be a seer, also called Malam, but fraudulently brainwashing passengers to collect their cash and other valuable things.
The driver dropped his money and phone for the Malan to pray on it, and he asked me to drop my bag too, which I did, and he drove away.
Borno State Commissioner of Police Bello Mokwashi, through the Command's Public Relations Officer, DSP Edet Okon, reiterated the Command's commitment to rid the state of criminal activities.
The Commissioner of Police, Borno State Command, CP Bello Mokwashi, advises members of the public to be cautious, careful, and watchful when moving about in the town, and especially when entering tricycles, that is Keke Napep. He equally calls on the youths of Borno State to shun violence and other acts capable of disturbing the peace of the state, as the police will not condone acts capable of breaching the peace and security of the state.
All the paraded suspects will be charged to court at the conclusion of investigations. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
And those are the latest stories for now from Maiduguri. Let us at this point return to Ruth in Abuja for more stories. So Ruth, it's back to you.
Many thanks, Abubakar. Let's look at security. Troops acting on intelligence on the movement of suspected bandits on Abuja-Kaduna Expressway laid ambush along the suspected bandits' route. Overwhelmed, the criminals killed 2, while others escaped with gunshot wounds. A statement by the Coordinator of Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche, indicates that 2 locally made guns were recovered during the encounter. Major General Eneche notes that troops have continued to dominate the area with aggressive patrols. Let's turn our attention to education. The National Examination Council's Senior School Certificate Examination has commenced across the country. Hadiza Godwin-Ebune captures that for Abuja. Let's see that.
Examination began with practicals. Our students sitting for the NECO Senior School Certificate Examination are exhibiting their craft before supervisors who are evaluating their practicals for grading. In some schools around the Federal Capital Territory, some teachers monitoring the exhibition say the students are ready for the various practicals.
Display their work at least like 12
piece of their works for their exhibition. Then the examiner from NECO will just come and assess the works. That's how it's been done.
The subject we have today is practical. And the practical is based on progressive assessment. So we are waiting for the council to send their personnel to this place to work with the students and the teacher in charge of each of the subjects that are involved.
Furthermore, the National Common Entrance Examination, which is a one-day examination for intending applicants into the Unity colleges, will run in between the senior school certificate examinations. Hadiza Godwin Ebuni, NTA News.
And in a related development, still on education, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved automatic employment for education students on graduation, extension of teachers' retirement age to 65 and teaching service year to 40. Now, this is in the president's message to Nigerian teachers as they join their counterparts the world over in marking 2020 World Teachers' Day. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports that the message was presented by the Minister of Education, Adamu.
Special salary scale for teachers in basic and secondary schools, including provisions for rural posting allowance, science teacher allowances, and peculiar allowances, is hereby given. Free tuition and automatic admission for biological children of teachers in their respective schools.
To ensure that the COVID-19 protocols and guidelines for safe reopening of school are strictly complied with by all concerned, in order to safeguard the health and safety of the learners, teachers, and the school community as a whole.
To uphold education nationally, internationally, training youths, making them to be productive, making them to be morally useful to the society.
All right, joining me to shed more light on teachers' activities as we celebrate World Teachers' Day is the Secretary General, National Union of Teachers, Mr. Mike Ene. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Happy World Teachers' Day.
Thank you, my sister.
All right, so let's begin this way. There's been this outcry on the quality of education in Nigeria. You know, many believe it has dropped drastically, and some attributing it to the quality of teachers in some schools. What's your take on that?
Thank you. First and foremost, let me say we go by the name Nigeria Union of Teachers.
Not national. Okay, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, thank you. Now, going straight to your question, yes, of course, those who are canvassing that argument, they are free because they belong to a school of thoughts, and I think we too are canvassing it.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that the reasons are this. First and foremost, before now, I guess you are not born beyond you were not born before the war, so you might not know what I'm going to say. Now, before the war, those who read standard school, when they write, you will think it was printed. And immediately after the war, by 1970, those who were supposed to be in the last class when the war broke out stayed 3 years outside the school, and you know what it means. Just like this pandemic, 6 months after, or 4 or 5, people are crying, haywire, that heavens are going to be left loose. So you can now imagine someone who is in school, has been conscripted into the war, they have now come back, grown beards, and the rest of them, and they have lost everything about education. So when they came back, they were asked to move to class 5. So in that class 5, after a few months, they went into school certificate exams. That time it was called West African School Certificate. And as a result, these people went in with textbooks.
Okay, let me get to your point here.
Yes.
Now, you're talking, you know, after the war.
Yes,
decades
about
have passed. The standard of education.
The low standard, where it started.
Okay.
It started immediately after 1970. That was when we had the Expo 1970.
Okay.
So those who went in were poor students, taught by poor teachers, who have left everything about education. Then the second reason was the incursion of the military. The military came in, upgraded the poor standard. Then the final blow came from the politicians, who of course now came. Remember, Before now, we hardly heard about private schools. It was public schools. I'm a product of public school. So some years after the Civil War, the military incursion came in, the politicians came in, government came in, and they abandoned public schools. They now could no longer fund public schools. Rather, they brought in what we call commercialization and privatization of schools.
Okay, we don't really have much time.
Yes.
So if you do me this favor to summarize some of your responses.
Yes.
But let me hit this to you now.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's been this concern on empowerment, of different sectors, education inclusive. Now, in what ways do you think teachers can be empowered? I know today, this afternoon, the president approved, special salary for teachers.
Beautiful.
That's a plus. But in what ways, other means teachers can be encouraged?
Thank you. Well, encouraging teachers are in too many ways. Very many times people think that we clamor for money that can go into the pocket. No. First and foremost, when the structures, the infrastructure, and additional materials are there, you have empowered the teacher. Because it's like giving somebody a tool to go to work. Of course, another way is by making sure that that thing you agreed with the worker. The Bible says a laborer is worthy of his hire. Nobody likes to be owed. As you are sitting there, if after 30 days, the NTA management refuses to pay you, it's a minus for them. So I want to tell you that one empowerment you can always give to any worker, apart from teachers, is to pay that worker that little emolument. It might interest you to know that as we speak, the minimum wage, the 27.5%, which had all been agreed by government, had not been paid by all some tiers of government.
Okay, now, in what ways can teachers also contribute their own quota? No doubt they're doing a fantastic job, but what ways can they also contribute for nation building?
Yes, the teacher remains the only person you can find in all the nooks and crannies of 774 local government. And there is no doubt that anytime you go to any school, you find the teacher. The teacher is not, they don't work in the offices like people carry file. So teachers go for personal upgrade. Even at the face of all odds, they keep the faith. Because you can find them, they are owed 30 months, they are owed various months of salaries.
But
and
what can they
go to
do?
School.
What can they do?
They do personal upgrading.
Okay.
They offer personal upgrading. And they keep faith. Keeping faith for somebody, for your employer, means because the teacher is a parent. The teacher goes to market. The teacher goes to hospital. So at the end of the day, your employer doesn't pay you and you keep going to work, means a very big service.
All right, Mr. Mike, and let's leave it at that. Thank you very much. And we want to appreciate all teachers, for their selfless services.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my sister.
All right, let's go on a break. We're back. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. Let's now join Michael in Lagos. He has some reports for us on Nationwide. Michael?
Thank you, Ruth. The role of teachers in nation building cannot be overemphasized, which is a reflection of the saying, no nation can develop above the level of its teachers. In this report, Hingino John Adams takes a look at the teaching profession pre- and post-independence.
Teaching and learning are practices that are as old as mankind. Teaching has evolved over centuries. In Nigeria, though non-formal mode of teaching like storytelling was employed, the coming of British missionaries in 1840s ushered in Western education. During that period, the missionaries were the ones teaching, but later trained indigents to be professional teachers. Then, anyone who aspired to be a teacher had to undergo professional training of various grades.
Anyone that goes to grade 2 teachers college will find out that such teachers are very, very good, and the passion for teaching was there.
You are going to school in the morning, you have to go with slates. Every three days, you have to charcoal your slates. Without being done, you are not going to learn in the school. The teacher will cane you.
As time went on, quite a number of indigents became qualified teachers because it was a highly revered profession. Many years into independence, teaching drifted from what it used to be, as many without relevant training and qualification have found their ways into it.
Rather than the teacher being the king in the classroom, dictating and commanding what happened in the classroom, the system now is pupil focused and pupil centric. You understand? The pupil dictate the tone in the classroom and the teacher goes by it.
To correct the ills in the profession, the federal government in 2019 directed that by January 2020, only qualified persons will be allowed to teach. With policies like this, Nigerians are expecting that the glory of the teaching profession will be restored. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
Now let's talk a bit of security. Retiring officers from the armed forces that recently participated in various entrepreneurial skills acquisition at the Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center Oshodi, Lagos, are expected to redirect their focus and energy to life outside their military backgrounds. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Gabriel Olonishakin, underscored the importance of vocational training for outgoing military personnel and completion of training in Lagos. Paul Omukago has details.
The Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center is charged with the responsibility of impacting skills relevant to the resettlement needs of retiring military personnel in the country. General Olonishakin, while appreciating the center for its human capital development efforts, charged the new set of graduates to put into meaningful and sustainable use the new skills acquired, describing their successful training at the center as a historic milestone in their military career as it prepares them for their post-service life. The Chief of Defense Staff acted on the need for them to be security conscious and make positive contributions to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Remember, you remain ambassadors of the armed forces, and I urge you to continue to support various security agencies, particularly in area of community intelligence gathering.
The commandant of the center, Air Vice Marshal Kingsley La, says much effort and emphasis was placed on maintaining and improving the physical and social infrastructure of the center.
One of the things that kills retirees is boredom and inactivity. So if they have a vocation that they are doing, they will be able to, keep themselves mentally and physically engaged and hopefully make some money in the process of doing that.
The center graduated non-military personnel who were among 323 graduates. In Lagos, Paul Omukago, NTA News.
Still on security, maritime security has remained a priority in Nigeria due to the essential nature of activities in this critical sector of the nation's economy. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the Nigerian Navy is strengthening collaboration to ensure effective surveillance, protection of vessels and cargoes, as well as other critical national assets. Dr. Ogunyemi reports on the uniqueness of an ongoing exercise with the United States Navy.
Tackling the issue of piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, as well as combating other threats, remains the focal point of the Nigerian Navy by sustaining the presence of its vessels at sea, as well as ensure regular training of its personnel. This visit by the USS Herschel Woody Williams for a 3-day exercise is to promote maritime security and deter criminal elements.
The exercise that we are going to have will include a rig protection exercise, which is a very critical exercise to our maritime security. As you know, we have several assets in our maritime environment. One of those assets is oil. So the protection of those assets is very critical to our economic well-being as a nation.
On its part, the Nigerian Navy provided 6 vessels to be part of the exercise. The participating ships and its respective companies will, however, not be having any physical contact with one another in line with COVID-19 guidelines. The United States and Nigeria have in the past participated in a series of exercises that have led to the arrest and prosecution of several suspects. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
We are not yet done on Nationwide because Ruth has more stories in Abuja.
You're right, Michael. Thank you All right, let's continue. The most effective and veritable tool for communication and mobilization of any group of people in Nigeria to promote, engender and enhance peaceful coexistence is the radio. Now, this was the emphasis at a conference which dwelled on the theme Microphone Against Hate and Violence. Justin Bemunye reports.
Every community in Nigeria and beyond the Sahel zone is said to have a craving for integration into the economic activities and development of the nation. This consciousness for inclusivity is what the average Fulbe man, otherwise called the Fulani people, tend to explore by always staying glued to the radio. More interestingly, Nigeria now has a Fulfulde-speaking radio station for the Fulanis, the Kode Radio International, to promote developmental journalism as well as grassroots sensitization. Consequently, stakeholders at this conference, while launching a program series for conflict resolution and dialogue between farmers and herders, see the radio as a low-hanging fruit that can be used significantly to control crime, militancy, terrorism, and promote economic growth.
We need to sensitize the very large population of Fulbes who are not educated, who no longer have cows to take care of, and who are not into farming, to bring them into the full picture, into full circle of activities of Nigerian people and Nigerian economy.
Let's use this station to ensure that we mitigate, complex situations, so that societies could be talking to each other. Because the problem we have in Nigerian society, we are not talking to each other in a language that one will understand. Because an average Nigerian, I still believe, is still a wonderful person.
The thematic of the drama series is going to be centered around environmental challenges, mostly overpopulation, climate change, and peaceful coexistence among different ethnic groups.
And we will produce a radio drama, the effect of conflict to migration.
The general thinking of participants at this conference is that the media in any society can be effectively utilized in enhancing inclusivity, as it will further promote education and sensitization of the citizens to give them a voice. In Abuja, Justin Bemunye, NTA News.
Looking forward to that. Felicia is waiting in Jos. She has the next set of reports for us. Felicia.
Thank you, Ruth. Welcome to Jos. Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong says the party in the state remains focused and resolute to win the Southern Senatorial by-election of the state. The governor said this at the stakeholders meeting of the party held at the party's state secretariat in Jos. Priscilla Grumnan has the details.
The stakeholders meeting is preparatory to the October 31st, 2020 date fixed by INEC for the election of the Plateau Southern Senatorial District to replace the late Senator Ignatius Longjan.
We are resolute, we are on ground. We want to put our unity and also to solidify our support for our senatorial candidate. And that is why all of us are here, to assure the party that all of us have agreed to go and work for the party.
For the Minister of Women Affairs, then Pauline Talen, the party has been yearning for more representation of women in the political sphere and pledged her support for the female candidates.
We've all resolved to come together as a party to support her. And I'm particularly proud and happy because she's a woman and we've been yearning for the representation of women. I thank the governor and all the party leaders for giving us this worthy candidate.
Key players of the party from national to the world levels attended the meeting with a resolve to continue to work for the unity and progress of the party. From the APC party secretariat in Jos, Priscilla Grumnan, NTA News.
9,009 artisans and transport operators from Plateau State are to benefit from the Artisans and Transport Grant of 75 billion naira survival fund for micro, small and medium enterprises of the federal government. To this end, the Plateau State Microfinance Development Agency is sensitizing these groups for optimal utilization of the fund. Ndayan Andayabagyang has the details.
Artisans and transporters are part of MSMEs that play a critical role in the economy of the country, who also had to deal with the negative impacts of COVID-19. To sustain existing jobs created by these artisans and transporters and create new ones, the federal government has made available 75 billion naira grant to various sectors of the economy. Taking advantage of this, artisans and transporters across the 17 local government areas of Plateau State were sensitized on the survival fund scheme and procedure needed in accessing the grant.
We can use it to repair our vehicles or to buy some parts in the vehicles.
It's really going to help the transport sector, particularly the tricycle organization.
If actually we can access this loan, I think it will go a long way in helping alleviating our suffering.
Each beneficiary under this component is to get 30,000 naira. As such, they are encouraged to take advantage of registration through their association and unions for effective mobilization.
The Plateau State is supposed to provide over over 9,009 beneficiaries for this component of the intervention.
The beneficiaries were called upon to play a complementary role of revamping the economy in the face of COVID-19. In Jos, Ndanyan and the Abuja, NTA News.
This is Nationwide. More reports in Abuja as we rejoin Ruth.
Thank you, Felicia. Governor of Ondo State and All Progressives Congress candidate for the October 10 Ondo governorship election, Rotimi Akeredolu, says the forthcoming election will be mere referendum for his second term in office based on what he calls his even developmental projects across the state. This was while discussing Ondo election campaigns on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria. Lydia Sampson reports.
Saturday, it will be the turn of the Ondo electorate to decide at the ballot who governs them for the next 4 years. The incumbent, who is contesting for a second term on the platform of the APC, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, believes his first-term scorecard puts him in good stead.
We have done a lot of work in Akure, a lot. Roads, schools, mention it, a lot of work. And people in Akure look at it and say, look, if somebody had come and done this much, here in Akure, how do we not even pay him, or how do we show gratitude? So if a number of people in Akure, even though Akure Indians believe that, look, I haven't done this much in Akure, this governor deserves to be returned or deserve a second term.
The governor, however, made a passionate appeal against political thuggery and violence.
Areas of concern might be area of security. And I believe that the police and the other security agencies that are going to be involved in this election are also going to be up to the task. I'm worried about violence here and there. For what purpose? If you are sure of yourself and you are sure that you have the numbers, then there's no need for violence. That's why I've always said to my own supporters, we don't need it.
Two public affairs analysts gave their reading of the build-up to the Ondo governorship election.
The incumbent always have that advantage. The political patronage, he has appointees. Looking at the trajectory of Ondo election and the jinx has broken, it's possible for a governor to win the second time, and I believe it's going to repeat itself.
I still believe that elections in Nigeria cease to be on party platform. I think it's more individualistic, and that's what Edo demonstrated, that even if you switch political camp within 2 months, you can still win an election irrespective. But if he has performed as he has highlighted, I think the referendum may be positive on him in terms of getting re-elected.
Other candidates are expected to take turns on Good Morning Nigeria to sell their developmental blueprint for Ondo State before the election on Saturday. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
And Port Harcourt will be our last stop, and Dibabari will guide us.
And welcome to Port Harcourt. After months of lockdown occasioned by COVID-19, normal school activities are gradually resuming in public and private schools in Port Harcourt, with compliance with established COVID-19 protocols set by the authorities for the safety of students and their teachers. Kingsley Amaji reports that the first day of resumption was devoted to cleaning of the environment and staff meetings and resumption for their third term academic work.
The first day of school's resumption was devoted to cleaning of the school environment and meetings in some of the schools visited. Peace Atakala and Friday Douglas are among students who are excited coming back to school after about 7 months of lockdown.
I'm very happy because staying at home, I was bored. As I'm coming to school now, I'll gain more knowledge to add to the one I had before.
I'm fully prepared for this term. It's going to be a little bit short, but it's going to be nice.
This morning when I came to the gate, I told the security, whether teacher, student, anybody, visitor, no face mask, don't enter.
Students, they are well sensitized about COVID-19, and we really educated them on what to do.
Officials of the state COVID-19 protocol were at some of the schools visited to ensure compliance with the laid-down protocols. The resumption of schools coincided with this year's World Teachers' Day, amidst appeals from teachers for better teaching and learning environment, as well as improved welfare condition. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Marjorie, NTA News.
A cross-section of Port Harcourt residents say the ban on the activities of FSAs from the roads is in the best interest of the public, given the intimidation and sometimes deaths innocent persons go through in their hands. This comes as they called on IGP to ensure full compliance with the directive. Jenny Bassi reports.
It is a case of one death too many. River State has had its fair share of police brutality. The most recent is the killing of an upstart musician, Daniel Ikeguchi, also known as Slicky.
The punishment for murder case is a sentence to death. Now, what that means is that it would require a lot of time, a lot of diligence in investigating this matter.
The directive by the Inspector General of Police banning the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad FSAS and other Special Tactical Squad and Intelligence Response Team from routine patrols to Port Harcourt residents is a welcome development.
Election busters is a good thing, so that people can move freely.
Those who are stealing, kidnapping, or robbery anywhere, that is their function, not to just stop on the way and start to embarrass people. And that is what they did in the past, and that is what the IG went to correct. I think it's in the right direction.
They go to the extreme, right, in their activity. So the action of the IG is good.
They have also advised that the police authority should ensure that criminals do not take advantage of the ban to increase their nefarious activities. In Port Harcourt, Jenny Bassi, NTA News.
We are done from here. Nationwide will continue right after the break. Stay tuned.
I'm Ruth Aguele. Enjoy your evening.